When it comes to preparing for consulting case interviews, there is abundance of resources you can use. There are over 10 different case interview prep books, hundreds of different MBA Consulting Club case books, and thousands of YouTube videos and online articles. You can easily spend hundreds of hours preparing for case interviews using these resources. No one wants to spend their weekends doing case interview prep, so is there a more efficient way to prepare for case interviews? Is there a way to save yourself at least 100 hours of prep time? I'm a former Bain manager and interviewer, and in this video, I'm going to share with you what I believe is the most efficient and effective way of preparing for case interviews. If I had to recruit for consulting all over again, these are the exact 7 steps I would follow. I'll also share with you the exact resources I would personally use. Step number 7 is one that most candidates do not think about, so make sure you watch the video until the end. Let's get started with step 1. Step 1. Understand what a case interview is. The first step in preparing for consulting case interviews is to understand exactly what case interviews are and what a perfect case interview performance looks like. Case interviews are a special type of interview that every single consulting firm uses. They typically take 30 to 60 minutes and involve you working with the interviewer to solve a business problem and provide a recommendation. There are typically 7 steps in a case interview: summarizing the case background information and verifying the objective of the case, asking clarifying questions, structuring a framework, kicking off the case, solving quantitative problems, answering qualitative questions, and delivering a recommendation. I've linked a video in the video description below that will give you an overview of case interviews and all of the steps in under 30 minutes. When you are familiar with what case interviews are, it is important to know what a great case interview performance looks like. Knowing what a great case interview performance looks like will facilitate how quickly you learn case interview strategies in the next step. It'll give you a concrete goal that you can replicate and strive for. I've linked another video in the video description below that will show you what a perfect case interview performance looks like. Before continuing on to the next step, you should be familiar with the purpose of a case interview, the structure and flow of a case interview, the types of questions you could get asked, and what a great case interview performance looks like. Step 2. Learn the right case interview strategies. Now that you understand what case interviews are, the next step in preparing for case interviews is to learn the right strategies to build good case interview habits. It is much more effective to learn the right case strategies the first time than to learn poor strategies and try to correct them later. I'll recommend several different resources you could use for this step. In my opinion, the quickest and most efficient way to learn case interview strategies is to go through an online course. Typically, online courses are more effective than just reading articles and books because they teach through visual and audio ways. There is also a lot more functionality that can be put into an online course than through a traditional book. We've developed a comprehensive case interview course to teach the most effective case interview strategies in the least amount of time. You can check out our comprehensive online course linked in the video description below. However, if you prefer reading case interview prep books instead and want something more affordable, there are 2 books I recommend. The first is our own book, Hacking the Case Interview, which provides strategies on exactly what to do and what to say in every step of the case interview. It is a concise and straight-to-the-point guide. I recommend this book as the first book to read for beginners, as it can be finished in a day. The second book I recommend is Case Interview Secrets by Victor Cheng. This book teaches core concepts such as the issue tree, drill down analysis, and a hypothesis-driven approach. It illustrates these concepts through stories and anecdotes. If you can, I'd read both Hacking the Case Interview and Case Interview Secrets. These are the only 2 case interview books I recommend reading. None of the other books out there are worth it, in my opinion. For example, Case in Point is another popular case interview book that many candidates use. It provides a ton of specific and complex frameworks. However, you likely won't be using many of these in an actual case interview because many of them are overly complex and super specific. For those looking for completely free resources, we've pulled together a 1-hour case interview webinar that provides a great introduction to case interview strategies. Again, links to all of the resources in this video can be found in the video description below. The most important key takeaway from this step is to make sure to spend sufficient time learning the right strategies before starting to practice cases. It is ineffective to practice cases if you have no idea what strategies to practice and refine. Before moving on to the next step, you should at least have strategies for the following parts of a case interview: developing unique and tailored frameworks, solving quantitative problems, answering qualitative questions, and delivering a recommendation. Step 3. Practice 3 to 5 cases by yourself. Once you have learned the right strategies, the next step in case interview prep is to practice. When practicing case interviews, it is usually better to practice with a case interview partner than to practice by yourself. Casing with a partner better simulates the real case interview experience. However, when you are just starting out, I recommend doing the first 3 to 5 cases by yourself. There are 3 reasons for this. You can get the hang of the case interview structure and format much more quickly working by yourself rather than having to wait to schedule a time with a partner. There are many aspects of case interviews that you can practice without a partner, such as structuring a framework and solving quantitative problems. You can get much more practice working through these parts by yourself. You may have difficulty finding a case interview partner if you are a complete beginner. Without having done any cases, you likely won't know how to properly give a case or provide good feedback. Where do you find practice case interviews? The online course and books I've linked in the previous step all have practice cases you can work through by yourself. If you're looking to find free practice cases, we've compiled 23 MBA consulting case books that have over 700 practice cases. The link to these case books is in the video description below. Before we move on to the next step, I'd like to ask for your help in supporting the channel by giving this video a like. It only takes a second, but it greatly helps us be able to create more free and helpful case interview videos. Also, make sure to subscribe to our channel so that you don't miss any of our new case interview content. Step 4. Practice 5 to 10 cases with a partner. The next step in preparing for case interviews is to case with a partner. Casing with a partner is the best way to simulate a real case interview. There are many aspects of case interviews that you won't be able to improve on unless you practice live with a partner. When practicing cases with a partner, ensure you are spending enough time after cases to deliver feedback. For a case that takes around 30 to 40 minutes, spend at least 15 to 20 minutes for feedback. Much of your learning and improvement will come from these feedback sessions. It is very important who you pick as your partner. Remember, if your partner is a complete case interview beginner, they will probably not know how to give a case interview the right way. The feedback they provide will also likely not be as helpful as someone who has done a few mock case interviews. Therefore, try to find a partner that is ideally above your skill level so that you can learn from them. Do not move on to the next step until you have done at least 5 to 10 cases and are beginning to feel comfortable with case interviews. Step 5. Practice with a former or current consultant. At this point, I highly recommend asking former or current consultants to give you a practice case. This will significantly help you prepare for case interviews. Doing a mock case with a former or current consultant is highly advantageous because they know exactly how to run cases and give feedback. You'll receive incredibly helpful feedback that your previous case partners likely missed. If you feel that you are plateauing with your case partner, that is a sign you should do a mock case interview with a former or current consultant. You can find former or current consultants among friends, classmates, colleagues, people you met during the consulting recruiting process, and your broader LinkedIn network. If you can, I'd prioritize practicing with former or current consultants from McKinsey, BCG, and Bain. These consulting firms typically have the highest bar for passing case interviews, so you'll likely get much tougher but more helpful feedback from consultants from these firms. If you can't find anyone to practice with, you can consider finding a case interview coach and paying for a few mock case interviews. At this point, you should have accumulated a long list of improvement areas from all of the different people you have cased with. Step 6. Work on your improvement areas. In this step of preparing for case interviews, you will work on strengthening and fine-tuning your improvement areas. Examples of common improvement areas include creating a more complete and mutually exclusive framework, performing math calculations quicker or more smoothly, providing more structure to your qualitative answers, leading the case more proactively, and delivering a more succinct recommendation. Try to focus on improving one thing at a time. This is much more effective than trying to improve everything at once. For some areas, such as math, it will be better to work independently. For other areas, such as learning to proactively lead the case, it will be better to work with a case partner. Do not move on to the next step until you have finished working on all of your improvement areas. This is probably where most candidates will spend their time. You may need to do anywhere from 5 to 50 more cases, depending on your starting skill level and how quickly you can learn. Step 7. Stay sharp, but don't burn yourself out. Once you feel that you have no more improvement areas to work on, the key is to not burn yourself out by doing too many unnecessary cases. While each case that you do makes you slightly better, there is a point when doing too many cases can create case fatigue right before your interview. Case fatigue can negatively impact your interview performance. On the other hand, you also don't want to go weeks without having done a case. You may end up forgetting strategies or become rusty and slow. Once you have achieved case mastery, I recommend doing no more than 2 cases per week in the weeks leading up to your interview. This ensures that you remain sharp for case interviews but don't have case fatigue. To recap, these are the 7 steps I'd take to prepare for case interviews the most efficient way while saving myself potentially hundreds of hours of wasted or inefficient learning. Step 1. Understand what a case interview is. Step 2. Learn the right case interview strategies. Step 3. Practice 3 to 5 cases by yourself. Step 4. Practice 5 to 10 cases with a partner. Step 5. Practice with a former or current consultant. Step 6. Work on your improvement areas. And Step 7. Stay sharp but don't burn yourself out. Decide which step you currently are on, and then check out the specific resources I've listed for each step to get the most efficient learning and fastest results. Good luck with your case interview prep. You got this.